Hello and welcome back, LinkedIn Live. This is our next version of the Percepta LinkedIn Live. We are excited to be here, back in action. I'm here with my co-host Meredith, and
Hey.
today we have one of our favorite, fabulous guests, Johnny Brandt, on today. And typically, when we're doing these shows, I kind of go through and tell you who Percepta is. But the really great thing about what Johnny does is Johnny is all about who Percepta is. So we're going to actually switch it up today. Johnny, you're going to take my job and you're going to tell us who is Percepta.
Oh, I am. Okay. I,
Yes.
I had a feeling you were going to do this to me. I do love to talk about who Percepta is, so that makes
Yes.
sense. But if I had to distill it down, I would say that Percepta is a joint venture that was formed in 2000 between two industry icons in BPO and in automotive. And I would say that really kind of organically, or actually very intentionally, we've become experts in this space, serving some of the world's most recognized brands across automotive, mobility, and adjacent industries. And I think that, Karen Gerganis, our president, says it best that at Percepta, elevating the customer experience is the call to action behind everything that we do. So if I had to boil it up into a few sentences, I think that really that's how I would talk about Percepta.
Awesome. Awesome. And well, so okay. Thank you for doing that. Now that was my job. So, but let's jump. Let's take it one step back. Now that you've handled that for me, I appreciate you doing that. Tell us who is Johnny Brandt and what's your role and what do you do here at Percepta?
Yeah, thanks, Kellen. So, my role here at Percepta is a part of the client relationships and the business development team. And ultimately, myself and that team are responsible for the new business growth as well as the embedded base business growth here at Percepta. I started in the automotive industry actually as in the call center, working on the phones. I was a Mercedes-Benz concierge specialist way back in the day. I always kind of get a kick out of it. It's still a program that we support today. But I was like one of two people that were scheduled, or maybe the only person scheduled on a Friday night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Back when it was like the program was in its infancy. And so it's been great. It's been, many kind of partners since then, but to be here at Percepta, still seeing that program running strong has been fantastic. So I worked my way through from the front lines into management, and then into training, and actually helped a former organization of mine open up a call center in Florida. And it was after that that I started moving into a sales role. And that's really where I found that a lot of my passions can exist. I get this opportunity to talk about something that I really care about, elevating the customer experience, going above and beyond for frictionless experiences. And then I get to help other partners kind of achieve that on a regular basis. So that's a little bit about me and my background, intro, passion.
I love that, Johnny. I think that your story is really incredible, and how you started out in the call center, and I feel like you really have a true understanding of what the BPO industry is all about. So let's talk about where Percepta fits in that BPO industry, and what's our sweet spot, our specialization.
Yeah, like I was saying, being a joint venture between these industry icons, it's very intentional that Percepta operates to serve solely the automotive and mobility industries. And we do that across 56 different global markets. And so when I think about the BPO space as a whole, I think a lot of people go right into customer journeys, customer experiences, but there's something really unique about Percepta in that we are very prescriptive in the partners that we work with and in what we try to achieve. I think that by having that really specialized focus, we've created deep expertise in the automotive and mobility markets and those industries. And that is what I think continues to see, or what drives Percepta's continued success and a lot of our growth over the last several years specifically, is that we're starting to figure out how to harness that. And we're also starting to figure out how we can start to leverage those experiences for new partners and across the globe as well.
Yeah, and so you talked a little bit about it, but we are definitely, we identify ourselves as being automotive and mobility markets. Do you want to expand on that a little bit more, Johnny?
Yeah. So I think that, you know, as a part of our rider about who Percepta is, that's where we're going to operate. That's where we're going to focus. And I think that while we are this global company operating in all of these different markets, what's really unique about us is that we still have this boutique attention and this ability to scale for some of our smaller partners as well. So when I think about our expertise, there's kind of this number that always sticks in my head, which is, we have supported over our time 16 different automotive manufacturers. And today we're operating over 160 unique programs just in that smaller subset of partners that we have. And so even within those programs, I think it's something like 80 or 90 of them are, smaller head programs. They're 15, 20 people that are supporting a very specific specialized skill set. And what I think about when I think about that stat is just the depth and the breadth of services and touch points that we have with customers that exist across the automotive or mobility journey, right? So where there are, massive organizations out there doing a lot of tier one customer service, thousands of people assisting customers from that tier one perspective, Percepta has this ability to also dive really deep with our partners to make sure that we are influencing that customer journey across several different touch points. And I think that when I think about Percepta's specialization in the marketplace, that's kind of one of those stats that really sticks out to me as describing it the best, or kind of putting some data points behind when we say we're boutique. Like, I don't think it gets much more boutique than that in the BPO industry.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Johnny. And so, talking about where we fit in all of this, one of the things that we kind of mentioned was talking about our top of funnel and mid funnel. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think that one of the unique programs that's really starting to come out in the marketplace today is how can we start to influence from a customer experience standpoint some of that top of funnel and mid funnel sales growth. And so, the way that e-commerce and online purchasing has started to shift, especially in the mobility and automotive and OEM industries, I think it's really critical that we start to focus in on how can we start to drive better conversions for our partners, and how do we then continue to fill that funnel for them. And so I know that there's a lot of work to be done in what that journey looks like. And the really cool thing about us operating in this space for so many years is that we start to see it in some of our frontline teams first, right? We start to see it in our CSAT responses, in our NPS results. We start to see it when we start thinking about customer forums and start talking with customers about what are they looking for, what do they want next. And really where it started was with kind of this new generation of purchasers in the OEM space and mobility space, and their expectations around what does it mean to be communicated with or engaged with a certain company or a certain brand. And so I think that we start to see those trends ahead of time. That positions us to be thought leaders in the industry so that we can say things like, hey, top of funnel, the way we're communicating with customers when they're on your OEM website and they may be building out a vehicle, there are certain things that we can be doing to really engage with that person on the other end in that process to drive conversions, to drive engagement and brand loyalty in those places. And so I think that as we experience changes, or we see those changes that are about to happen because of those customer responses, it positions us really well to kind of predict the future and step in and start to create solutions and partner with folks to get them to be known for the company that they want to be known for in 5 years. Let's start that journey now because we have a little bit of insight to help you get there.
That is boutique attention, huh?
Yeah.
No, I really love hearing you talk about this type of stuff, because you really are an expert in this field, and it comes across. You know what you're talking about. You sound passionate. You're great. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
As you know, and as many of us know, the automotive industry is fast paced. It's always changing. What do you see in the future with this industry?
Oh my gosh. I love this question. First of all, because it feels limitless, right? Like I always say it, that we're speeding into uncharted territory, and we have so many opportunities that are about to be in front of us. Just the way that, automotive customers or OEMs start looking at the product differently, it is going to be fascinating, I think. So we have so many ways that we are thinking about the way the customer journey is going to change. I think about, I've talked with my family about this, and family that are like, oh, the first thing you used to do when you bought a vehicle, as an example, look under the hood, what kind of engine does it have? And then that really started to shift back in the 90s and then the 2000s, and especially in the 2010s, around what type of technology, what kind of connected services am I going to start to get? Will my vehicle know when it's in an accident? Or, can I press a button in my vehicle to get help with anything that I might need help with? And so it started to really shift into this, what experience am I having inside of that vehicle? And I think that's only going to continue to change when you start to think about autonomous vehicles. So now it is maybe even less so about what's under the hood, because you're not even driving that car, right? It becomes solely a customer experience. So what kind of, we'll call it infotainment, so information, entertainment, what is that going to look like? How are you going to start to then influence the customer experience in that phase as well? And I think that beyond the customer experience, there also now becomes an expectation about how smart that vehicle is. So being able to know when that vehicle might have a mechanical issue that needs to be solved for, that it can drive itself to the body shop to get the work performed on it that it needs. I think that it's really going to start to change the way that OEMs, that the mobility industry starts to react, and especially the way that customer experience companies are going to start to react as well. I think about it from the standpoint of autonomous vehicles, like I talked about, to battery electric vehicles. Already one of the biggest insights that we know about battery electric vehicle buyers is that they are much more prone to use social media as a form of communication. So we're already working with a lot of our partners to start to do a lot more social listening, social media monitoring, engaging with those individuals in those channels of their choice, to really start to meet the customer where they're expecting us to be for them. And so I think that it's kind of interesting, all of these changes are happening. Think about subscriptions to vehicles, subscriptions to different services within the vehicle is going to start to be really a critical form of revenue for a lot of our partners going forward. And so making sure that we're standing up the right kind of teams for them to manage some of that commerce piece of the e-commerce, or even the sales and the marketing behind some of those subscriptions is going to be really critical. The awesome thing about it, though, like I was saying before, is that we already start to see it coming through the CSAT results, through the NPS results. We're preparing for it, being ready to scale for our customers and our partners. But with kind of thinking back to Karen's quote, always focusing on how can we make that experience frictionless. I think that is something that will never change, regardless of how many new technologies and experiences might come, is how can we make it easiest for the customer to continue to support that brand experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. For those of us that have been in the automotive industry for any part of our career, or for Johnny, for me, I've been in the auto industry in different ways throughout my entire career. Yeah. It's interesting to see how now we're almost developing this kind of relationship with our cars, our vehicles, like we do with our cell phones, right? I mean, it's very much the same kind of idea where it's that entertainment and that, customer experience that you get. So it's really interesting. It's a really, really awesome time to be part of the industry. So
It really is. And I think that, as much as there may be unknown about the future and what that looks like I think like this is something where you can come back to your roots of that deep auto experience and say, like, at the end of the day, we know how to impact that customer experience and that customer journey and how to continue to meet them with what their expectations are. So I'm really excited about being here, being at Percepta, to be a part of that change and a part of that kind of new experience that we're going to continue to drive out there. So I hope that you all are excited about it too, Meredith and Kellen.
Yeah,
Definitely.
very, very excited. It's such a cool time to be part of it. So,
Cool.
well, Johnny, as always, it's such a pleasure to have you on and just get a few minutes of your time to kind of hear about who we are as a company, where we fit into our big industry that is a very big industry, see kind of what your thoughts are on where we're going and how we're navigating through those waters, and just to hear from you. It's great. So thank you so much for being part of our leadership series. We much appreciate it.
It is absolutely my pleasure. Thank you, Kellen. Thank you, Meredith.
Yeah.
Always great chatting with the two of you.
And thank you to everybody that's tuning in today or later on today or tomorrow to this episode. Meredith and I will be back in a couple weeks with our next edition of the Percepta Leadership Series. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.